The morning sunlight filtered softly through the curtains, falling across the small kitchen table where Emma Thompson sat, her hands wrapped around a warm mug of coffee. The steam curled up slowly, carrying the faint scent of cinnamon. Yet it did little to warm the emptiness that had settled in her chest over the past 10 years. She watched the sun rise over the quiet town, a place she had once called home with hope and laughter. Now it felt too still, too predictable, as if life had quietly moved on without her. She took a slow sip, feeling the bitter warmth in her mouth, and wondered if things had always been meant to be this way. Calm on the surface, but quietly hollow underneath. Emma's thoughts wandered to her son, Ethan, who was already off to school. She missed the sound of his laughter echoing through the halls, but at least he was happy. He had friends, teachers who cared, and a life full of opportunities. Emma had done her best to provide him with everything he needed, even if it meant shelving her own dreams and desires for a decade. The house was quiet now. The quiet had become a familiar companion, one that lingered even in the warmest moments. Emma often wondered if she had become invisible not to the world but to herself. The routines of laundry, cooking, and work had replaced the laughter and excitement she had once known. And yet, despite this stillness, there was a small, flickering hope inside her, one she rarely let herself acknowledge. It was a hope that maybe, just maybe, life had more to offer. That love, friendship, and joy could find their way back into her world even after all these long years. But it was a hope she kept carefully tucked away, afraid that the world might take it from her if she let it show. She set her mug down and glanced at the calendar on the wall. 10 years. 10 long years since she had felt the kind of connection that left her heart lighter. A spark that made even ordinary days feel alive. Memories of laughter and conversation that once filled her home felt like distant echoes. Sweet but unreachable dot, Emma sighed, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. Outside, a gentle breeze rustled the trees, carrying with it the faint smell of wet earth and rain. It reminded her of days long past, when the world seemed bigger and her heart felt ready for anything. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to remember. To feel the faint thrill of anticipation she hadn't felt in years. Then a sound broke the quiet. The soft crunch of tires on gravel, followed by footsteps approaching the front door. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Visitors were rare, and the unexpected was almost always startling. She moved toward the door, her curiosity warring with a strange sense of hesitation. Who could it be? And why did her heart feel like it was waking from a long sleep, stirring with a cautious excitement she hadn't felt in years? When she opened the door, a familiar face greeted her, someone from a life she had almost forgotten. Someone who had been part of her son's childhood and her own past. For a moment, the world seemed to pause, and the quiet house felt like it was holding its breath. Emma didn't know it yet, but this unexpected visitor would slowly begin to fill the empty spaces of her days. Awaken memories she thought were gone, and in ways she could not yet imagine. Bring the first real hint of hope into a life that had been silent for far too long. The first few moments of silence after Liam stepped into Emma's living room felt both heavy and familiar. She hadn't realized how much she remembered the sound of his voice, the warmth of his smile, the way he always seemed to light up the space around him. It was as if the years had folded in on themselves, bringing him back from the past like a long-lost melody. As they settled into the worn couch, Emma noticed the same small details she had always remembered. The way Liam's eyes crinkled when he smiled, the quiet confidence in his posture, the way he seemed genuinely present in every moment. The memories came back slowly, like a gentle tide washing over her with a bittersweet ache. She remembered afternoons, long ago, when Ethan and Liam would play in the yard while she prepared tea or tidied the house. Liam had always been kind, patient, and funny in ways that made even the most ordinary days feel brighter. Emma had admired him quietly, never allowing herself to hope for more. There had always been an unspoken understanding between them, a closeness that didn't need words but that spoke volumes in glances, gestures, and shared laughter. There were small moments she remembered vividly. How Liam had once helped her carry groceries up the stairs during a particularly rainy afternoon. How he had stayed behind one evening just to make sure Ethan had finished his homework. How he had always noticed when she looked tired or discouraged, offering a quiet word of encouragement. Those little acts of care had left a mark on her heart, though at the time, she hadn't fully realized it. And yet, despite the closeness, there had always been distance. Life had a way of pulling people apart. After Ethan had grown older in school, work and responsibilities took over, their interactions had become sporadic. Emma had moved on, focusing on raising her son, while Liam had pursued his own path in the city. They had drifted, not because of conflict or misunderstanding, but because life had quietly insisted on it. Now, sitting across from him, Emma felt the weight of those lost years. How many small moments had been missed? How many shared laughs, small comforts, and simple joys had gone unspoken? And yet, despite the years of silence, there was an unmistakable thread that connected them, a bond that had never truly broken. Only paused as Liam began talking about his life. His voice carried the same warmth she remembered from the past. He spoke of simple things, his work, the friends he had kept, memories of their childhood. But every story seemed to carry an undercurrent of care, of looking back with fondness, of wishing he had been closer than he had allowed himself to be. Emma found herself smiling in ways she hadn't for years. There was comfort in his presence, a sense of understanding that only comes from someone who had truly seen you, even in the smallest, quietest moments. And with each shared memory, each laugh and pause, she realized something tender. Their connection hadn't disappeared. It had waited patiently, quietly, for the moment when they could meet again. It was clear why life had kept them apart, yet it didn't matter now. What mattered was the way their hearts remembered each other, the way old memories flowed easily into the present, and the gentle realization that sometimes the past doesn't just live in memory, quietly waits, ready to offer hope, comfort, and a chance at something beautiful. Days turned into weeks, and Liam's visits became a steady presence in Emma and Ethan's life. What had started as an unexpected visit slowly transformed into something that felt natural, comforting, and quietly joyful. There was no rush, no grand declarations, only the simple rhythm of shared time, laughter, and connection that gradually wove them closer together. One chilly afternoon, Emma found herself walking through the town park, Liam by her side. Ethan had gone to a friend's birthday party, leaving them alone with only the crisp autumn air and the gentle rustle of leaves underfoot. It was a scene that might have seemed ordinary to anyone passing by, but to Emma, every detail felt significant. The way Liam's hand brushed against hers as they walked, the warmth in his voice, and the light in his eyes that mirrored feelings she had long tucked away. They reached a small pond, the water reflecting the muted colors of the falling leaves. A flock of ducks glided across the surface, and Emma laughed softly at their clumsy splashes. Liam chuckled too, but then he paused, looking at her with a seriousness that made her heart skip a beat. "You know," he said quietly, "I've thought about this a lot. About us. About how much time passed without us really seeing each other." "Without me really seeing you?" Emma felt a flutter of emotion. There, it was the acknowledgement of the unspoken feelings that had lingered for so long. She had felt them herself, but had never dared to name them, fearing disappointment or misunderstanding. Yet now, in the crisp air and under the quiet sky, the words were simple, true, and powerful. "I've thought about it too," she admitted, her voice soft but steady. "About how much I missed having you around. How much I missed feeling this kind of connection." They walked in silence for a moment, letting the words sink in. It wasn't a rush of passion or dramatic revelation, just the deep, steady pull of hearts reconnecting, of two people finally allowing themselves to acknowledge the bond that had never truly faded. Then, by coincidence, perhaps by fate, Ethan came running into the park, laughing and holding a small, colorful kite. He had won at the party. He waved excitedly at them, and in that instant, Emma realized something profound. Life had a way of bringing people together when the timing was right. When hearts were ready, Liam and Emma shared a glance, the kind that didn't need words, It was a look filled with understanding, warmth, and unspoken promise. The past was no longer a distant memory, was part of the foundation on which something new could grow as they helped Ethan fly his kite. Emma felt a lightness she hadn't known in years. Her heart, once heavy with longing and quiet loneliness, now felt open and alive. She realized that the emptiness of the past decade hadn't been meaningless, had led her to this very moment, to a second chance at connection, companionship, and the kind of love that was gentle, enduring, and safe by the time the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Emma looked at Liam and felt